Welcome to Blackbriar Gaming. Pre-orders have gone live, and thousands of gamers across the world have ordered the new Horus Heresy box set. For many of those gamers, this will be their first adventure into the 31st Millennium. There's a question that I keep seeing pop up in the comments. How do I build out my Legion after I get the box set? That is a big question, and one that is dependent on a complex range of variables. It's also unique to each Legion, and often each Rite of War. At first, I tried to cover every single angle, but the video was just going to be too big. So I'm going to break this up into a number of parts. Today, I will cover the most basic of ways to build a Horus Heresy army, what I like to call the Starter Legion, beginning with the box set and rounding out your collection to be a balanced force on the tabletop. Just a quick note before we get into it, a subscribe and a like really helps us reach a bigger audience, so if you enjoyed the video, please hit those buttons down below. First up, ain't no one splitting this box. With that sported, let's move on. So, you've already got yourself 40 Beaky Marines, 10 Terminators, a couple of Fancy Boys, a Contemptor, and a Spartan. It's not hard to turn this into a very decent army. Each Legion will be slightly different in what you want to add, but this is what I recommend for new players looking to get a balanced force on the table without stressing about niche rules and Rites of War. It's broken down into a number of sections. I believe for a balanced army, you need to add something shooty, something to get them there, something choppy, something tough, something fast, and something fun. Let's go through what those mean. So, first up, you've got your box set. Well, first thing you want to do is add something shooty. The new weapon upgrade kits are great for this. When I saw that kit, and it was a surprise to me, I did not know it was coming on that reveal night. When I saw that kit, I was blown away. 60 weapons in that kit, all plastic, just stunning. I recommend the Special Weapons Upgrade Kit for pretty much everyone, every Legion. 5 to 10 of those Beakies will make a great tactical support squad for either anti-infantry or anti-armored firepower, depending on what gap you see as needing to be filled. To just clarify, anti-infantry, you're talking about plasma guns, that's kind of anti-elite infantry, or rotor cannons if you just want to mow down your regular Marines, and the anti-armored piece there, we're looking pretty much at melter guns for that. But, other weapons all have their purposes, and they're all pretty spicy. I'd personally wait out on the heavy weapon upgrades, as I think missile launchers will fall a bit flat in the new edition with Contemptors running around with a 2+ armor save. I'm holding out for those las cannons, and would recommend the same for almost any Legion to provide a unit that can deal with anything at range. So keep 5 to 10 of your Beakies for that too. Alternatively, if you want to go with big 20 post-human blobs of bolter-wielding Beakies from your box set, that is using the 40 tactical Marines in there for 2 tactical squads, 20 each, one of the new plastic Sakarans will provide a tank that can move around the table and give most targets a good battering, depending on which sponsons you load it out with. Iron Warriors, Imperial Fists, and Death Guards in particular are going to want to grab at least one of these Sakarans. So that is something shooty. Moving on, something to get them there. If you didn't go down the big blob route, a very valid route, I might add, your Beakies with bolters and your tactical support squad will need a way to get up the table and onto objectives. Certain legions, such as Raven Guard, for instance, won't need to rely on transports. But for the majority, I recommend grabbing either a few of the new Deimos pattern Rhinos or a few 40k Space Marine drop pods, noting that going down the drop pod route potentially has Rite of War implications and limitations on how you play your army. At this early stage, you're probably better off going one way or the other rather than mixing and matching. With the way that the new Deep Strike rules work, coming down en masse is definitely the way to go. Your Terminators and Praetor have the Spartan to get them up the table, so they're good to go. If you happen to include a way of deep striking those Terminators in, and there's far fewer in 30k than 40k, I might add, then your Spartan can step in to ferry your choppy unit around. Now, let's talk about something choppy. Lots of options here. Most Legions have a choppy Legion-specific unit that will do some great work in close combat. When I'm talking about Legion-specific unit, I'm talking about those units that are only available to your Legion and that will most likely be bought from Forge World. Those are those cool-looking resin units or upgrade kits that you can find on Forge World. Get some flavor into your army, take a deep breath, and buy that awesome-looking unit from Forge World. It's going to be expensive, but the key here is to go big. A unit of 5 doesn't get much done in Heresy. Alternatively, a bulky assault squad will fit this bill nicely, but there's not currently a great way to source the miniatures outside of 3D printing. So I'd wait until plastic assault squads come out, hopefully in the not too distant future. If the unit you choose doesn't have an inherent method of moving up the table at speed, then considering how they're getting into combat is also important. I certainly wouldn't recommend a second Spartan, but a small Land Raider, which we've seen teased and leaked in plastic, I might add, such a good model, or another assault vehicle may be needed. There's not too many, and there's certainly less in the second edition than we had in first edition, but something like a Termite assault drill, noting once again that there might be Rite of War considerations there, or what else did we see? Maybe a Storm Eagle, I think is an assault vehicle, but there's other ones out there. Just keep an eye out, and making sure that you're putting your choppy lads in an assault vehicle is super important so they can actually charge on the turn they get out. Next up, something tough. There's a wide variety of options for this one. You could go with a big blob of breaches, or perhaps one of the really new nice plastic Leviathan dreadnoughts to be the big brother to your more diminutive Contemptor. I think a lot of players will choose the Kratos battle tank for this role. It's big, it's tough, it shoots good, it looks cool doing it, it's new, it's flashy. But a squadron of smaller tanks also fits this role nicely. I'd wait until we see a plastic Heresy era Predator or Vindicator before going down that route though. Resin tanks are not much fun for anybody. Next up is something fast. Jet bikes or land speeders are going to be the most common units filling out this role. It's handy to have a unit that can get to the other side of the table in a hurry, either to contest objectives or put pressure onto backfield units. The key to this unit is to make sure it doesn't create too big of a footprint on the table, so you can hide it behind terrain until you're ready to commit. A number of legions, White Scars being a good example, have their own legion-specific units that do this better, and that's definitely a solid way to go. Lastly is something fun. By this stage, your army is looking pretty balanced, and it's easily filling out that healthy 3,000 point mark. Now is the time to spoil yourself with a fun unit that you just love. Honestly, for me, this is always going to be a Primarch. While they're potentially not going to do enough at the 2,000 point level to justify their cost and limit your army building probably too considerably, at 3,000 points, I will always think about how I can jam a Primarch into the list. This is Horus Heresy, people. We're here for the narrative, and nothing says narrative like getting to move one of the Emperor's own sons around the table. If you don't want to make the investment, plenty of regular post-human sized HQ units will give you the cool factor that you're looking for. Lots of beautiful special characters and Legion-specific Praetors to treat yourself with. And there we have it, my simple guide to getting your first Legion onto the table and ready to take on all comers. Of course, many units can fill most of these roles depending on how you run them and how you kit them out, so keep that in mind as well. This Starter Legion guide is just the beginning though. My next video on this topic will go deep into the impact that Legion Special Rules and Rites of War have on the way you may choose to build an army. And that brings us to the end of our Heresy Chats for today. Thank you so much for watching. Are you going down the Starter Legion route for your first Heresy army, or going for something a bit more thematic? Let us know in the comments below. Most importantly, make sure to keep rolling those dice and getting hyped for Heresy.